Bots are taking over the market for Black Lotus in Classic. So this is no changes, by the way. No changes, by the way.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. I don't know about you guys, but I've leveled 2 characters to 300 herbalism now, and in my many hours playing the game, I've seen a grand total of 1 Black Lotus spawn. Saying that, I don't do too much open world farming, I'm just not the biggest fan of it, but still. And that 1 Black Lotus was on the way to a raid, and I literally just respawned in Burning Steppes, which was pretty fortunate to see. And I know for a fact many people rushed up to level 60 as soon as possible,
of course,
and then specifically went hardcore into Black Lotus farming to stock them up and get masses of gold for later phases. Even still, I bet people are sitting on piles of Lotus, can't believe the amount of gold they're worth now, especially on larger servers. Ever since WillE has been announced, prices have steadily been on the rise. I remember the
funny thing is, like, this amount, if it was 230 gold on my server, I would be like, fuck yes, dude! I'm gonna save my money! This is awesome! Is it too quiet? Okay, I'll turn it up. Sorry, I didn't even realize it was.
Phase 1, they're around 120 gold or so for me. Then towards mid phase 2,
okay,
where loads of people left because of world PvP, they dropped as low as 60 gold. If I wanted to buy a Lotus nowadays, 160 to 180 gold. Of course, flasks are well over 200 gold a pop for any of the flasks that you could want. And as far as I'm aware, 200 gold plus for a flask almost seems to be the norm for many servers these days.
Yeah.
Which is actually a crazy amount. Imagine paying 2 times the amount you did for your level 40 mount and riding. One of the first big achievements you earn in the game for a 2-hour buff. And I'm sure you've all heard you don't need flasks for a raid, and you don't. Imagine farming hours and hours a week to make your raids about 30 minutes faster, but you kind of do want a flask on at least your main tank for WillE and other raids to avoid the risks of one-shots. And with Phase 4 and Zul'Gurub coming out, those class trinkets look pretty nice, especially for the druids and priests, and 2 Lotus are needed per 3 summons for the various bosses. Additionally, we still have AQ40 and Nax to come in the future. Many guilds will require flasks for at least the first couple clears to smooth out the learning curve, as we see just how the fights play out on Blizzard servers compared to what people remember from private servers. And at the end of the day, prices are only still going up. This means the demand is still being met by enough people. All of this...
People want to buy flasks. People want to play Classic seriously, and Blizzard doesn't let them do that because they've just got this idea that they want to... Well, I don't even think that's it. I think that Blizzard just doesn't give a shit. Like, that's actually what it is. There's no, like, there's no hidden, like, agenda behind Blizzard or, like, resentment or malicious compliance by Blizzard. I think they're just like, fuck them. And that's really the last thing. Like, they never read what people say about Classic. They don't give a fuck. And it's like, there's no way they can and think this is all right.
Isn't even considering guilds that require full consumables for each raid, which you may find crazy, but speed clears are like the world first race equivalent for many guilds in Classic, and the buffs that flasks give are so disproportionately high, it's kind of mad. Just as an example, Flask of Supreme Power gives 150 spell power. That could make up for about 20% of a geared caster's spell damage. Still, Wisdom and Titans give around the same percentage of mana and health too. It's no wonder they maintain such a high price. On top of this, Lotus are just hard to get. Now, initially in Classic, I can find reports that people claim they spawned once per hour. However, it now appears they're between 45 and 75 minutes per spawn. Each Lotus spawns in one of 4 zones. Each zone has its own spawn, they aren't all shared. These zones are all late game ones as well: Winter Spring, Burning Steppes, Eastern Plaguelands, and Silithus. And within these zones there are often about 8 different spawn points. So it's kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. Also, they are often in places that are surrounded by mobs, on high terrain, or just generally difficult to get to. And if we say 1 Lotus per zone per hour, that's an average of about 96 Black Lotus possible per day. What's that actually worth though? Say to somebody trying to shift this for cash. As a raw item, it varies in gold value, just like it does from server to server. Obviously, you want your Lotus on the highest population servers, and those with the more hardcore raiding guilds that require flasks, as they are gold mines to you. On average, it seems the value of a Lotus is between $10 to $13 roughly, and if we count up all of those spawns per day...
Bro, I can literally go to Home Depot and buy a plant. I can buy a miniature tree for less than a fucking Black Lotus in Classic WoW. I can buy an actual Lotus in real life for less than I can buy this plant for, man. This is ridiculous.
Those little plants are around $1,000 per day to somebody with a bot farm going. Then again, how do you bot something that has multiple respawns over 4 zones? It seems like a very cash-intensive startup idea, especially when there is competition from your average player. Then again, one Lotus almost fully pays for 1 month of running a bot. For all we know, costs could be covered in a day for dozens of accounts potentially. So how are people taking advantage here? Well, where do I begin? Honestly, I think this comes down to both player mafias as well as bots, though the latter seems to be a bit more impactful.
This is ridiculous.
And though we have many players who will happily occupy a zone in hopes of shutting out the market for their server, especially on PvP servers, it's kind of hard to compete with automation that can run 24/7.
Yeah, there's no way. You can't.
Later. Let's check out what are more likely to be the bots now. What's becoming more and more noticeable is level 1s that are on top of Lotus spawns whilst being dead, like little landmarks as for where the Lotuses will spawn. These guys will log in every so often when the spawn timer is up and see whether or not a Lotus has spawned. If it has, the herbalist for the zone will come over and grab that Lotus up. These level 1s will be summoned over to where they're needed by warlocks who can summon as early as level 20, then the herbalist, who will usually be the high 50s or 60, as they will need to be able to defend themselves against mobs in high level zones, will clear out the surrounding mobs, get the level 1 in place, let them die, and then they just log in occasionally and check for the spawns. And as you can see from these waypoints, there are many different spawn locations in each zone. Ideally, you want the herbalist to either be a druid, rogue, or a hunter, as they can stealth or feign death right through to the spawn and have CC to avoid surrounding mobs from tagging them off the Lotus, and then get the respawn timer going as soon as possible, whilst being most likely to avoid competition from normal players. That's pretty much as simple as it gets from the botting part of the operation, and
that's as simple as it gets? So what you could do is find a place that has the lowest amount of respawns, and then you could literally pay somebody. So if you're selling 1 Lotus, let's think about this. If you're selling 1 Lotus for $13 and you pay somebody $8 an hour and they get one every single hour, you would actually come out ahead by making a bot farm for this. You would actually come out ahead. What the fuck, dude? Because, like, you wouldn't be paying somebody minimum wage. You'd probably just pay some, like, random kid or something like that. That's insane.
As for finding them live, well, that was proving quite difficult for me. You see, my usual servers, Gehenna, Scholarmag, and Pyrewood Village, are all high population, but unlike many other botting operations, these don't take place nearly as frequently on high population servers, due to natural competition from players and mafias on these servers. What botters do like are the very low population servers, places like Judgment or Dragonfang on EU. Servers so low population, they don't even show as having 500 active players on Warcraft logs per week, or appearing on Ironforge.pro at all. Now that is a pretty low population.
So they transfer the characters?
Offered a transfer to from Firemore as well recently. Thanks, Blizz. Anyway, places like this, well, there just isn't really any competition apart from the other people solely farming to cash in, whether it be to transfer themselves to a larger population server or just for personal gains from selling. Also, you may know there's some restrictions on what you can transfer in terms of value, but this only extends.
My God, dude! Look at that! Look at all the little warriors there. They're just sitting there. And he's farming them right there. And yeah, any Lotus princes? This is incredible.
To raw gold. Items like Black Lotus are totally ineffective, despite one stack of them being worth more than double the gold transfer cap of 2,000 on pretty much any given server. Also, a transfer itself is $25, or about 2 Black Lotus. Not exactly a very high barrier to entry to get goods to market on a low level, and even with the 3-month cooldown on transfers taken into account as well. This is how many people are taking hundreds and hundreds of Lotus to market on top servers. But you may think, hang on, I only ever see about half a dozen to a dozen Lotus or of any flasks at one time. Well, sellers only post a few at once. The market and prices will drop, and with our known schedule for content, especially on our later raids like AQ40 or Naxxramas, these are pretty clearly signposted points where flasks will jump to an even higher price than they already are. But on top of the bots, there are also player-driven operations. While some of this stuff is pretty sweaty, hey, at least it's legit. Can't argue.
The thing is, like, yeah, this is like the Devil's Sword Mafia or something like that. I should have taken those Lotuses yesterday. I just... The thing is, like, it's not even really this, like, it is a burning... Look at that burning god, dude. And so it's not even like some kind of like super like mega brain idea. You just farm them on a really low pop servers with a bunch of accounts, and then you transfer them over to the high pop servers and just space out the sales and just sell them at a premium. Like, this isn't some kind of like fucking like big brain idea. It kind of is. I mean, it's like it's a mid brain idea. Okay, it's a mid brain idea. It's not a 4 head or a 5 head. It's just a 4.5 head idea, and just seeing this shit happen, like, the Blizzard needs to do something about this, dude. Yeah, it's 4.5 head.
With that, if that's what people want to do with their time in game, it is a massive amount of effort and upkeep as well, to be fair, so they're getting their reward for their efforts. Players can very much do the same with bots with all the accounts that are dead, but a much easier way to get this done that doesn't require moving half a dozen level 1s to zones or paying for that many accounts is just to have a hunter or shaman use their eagle eye or farsight spells to quickly scan the zone over. Seeing as you can recast both of these spells from where they're originally looking, you can cover massive amounts of terrain by doing this. After that, just have a few guildies that are in the open world gold farming in the area as well who can log in there relatively fast, and you can pretty much have the zone on lockdown. If any PvP kicks off, chances are you have greater numbers in the area.
Yeah, you got more gear.
Overpower the other faction. And just to know, I didn't manage to find anything like this online, but I'm actually curious whether using the modern macro functions you could create a set of macros to auto eagle eye on spawn points of Black Lotus. Every item in Classic WoW has an ID number, and add-ons provide a set of coordinates across zones. Between the two, could you instantly eagle eye onto Black Lotus spawns? It certainly sounds like something someone with a big brain could figure out and no doubt keep to themselves. Dude. Mafias aren't exactly something new to the game either. In fact, they were very much anticipated launch as just being part of the game, especially the well-known Devil Saw Mafias in Phase 1. Pretty much every single melee class wants the Devil Saw 2 set. It's fantastic pre-raid, and even now it's great stuff.
People are so weird with Classic, man. I just want to enjoy the game. People are really weird about Classic because they look at it as a chance to relive their past and do everything right that they didn't do right the first time. That's why they do it. That's why it is. It has nothing. And also, it's because, like, it's part, like, there's the nostalgia fucking, like that element to it. Then on top of that, they've got the fucking element of it that has to do with just being able to control the game. Like, to know that you're able to fuck over another player and you're able to control their fucking life is all some people need to get them to play the game 24/7. Like, just tell them that I'm going to give you an opportunity to just sit there and actually ruin somebody else's time and make somebody else not able to play the game or make their experience worse. And you're going to have people lining up to spend all day to be able to inconvenience other people. They love doing that. I used to be one of them. That's how I know.
Starting off at level 60. On release, Mafias started their takeover of Ngoro Crater, but within 2 months, respawn times were reportedly halved, from 10 to 15 minutes down to about 5 to 8 minutes, and the price of Devil Saw leather came down extremely quickly as a result. Even now, the 2 set is only about 120 gold on my servers, which is quite reasonable compared to your several hundred that it was in the early days. And this is an example of Blizzard actively nerfing, or buffing, I guess you could see it either way, a marketplace of limited, high-demand resources that have been cornered, except it being cornered by players at this point, not bots.
Well, that's the thing, is like, Blizzard, is that fucking over WoW? I don't think that's really fucking over WoW. I mean, the thing is that, to me, with the Devil Star leather and like buffing the spawn rates, was the Devil Star Mafia healthy for the game? Was anything about that good for the game? I would argue probably not. I think that it was a net negative, but it is part of the emergent gameplay that comes out of Classic that makes it interesting. So you can say, yes, it's good because of what it represents, but is the action itself a positive or a negative influence in the community? I would say it's universally a negative influence. So Blizzard increased the spawn times. I don't know if that's the right decision or not, but I don't think the Devil Star Mafia was good either. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't really have a strong opinion on that, but I do think with like the higher populations and everything, they should have, actually, yeah, because the game did have higher pops. So yeah, it made sense then. Never mind. Yeah, that actually makes complete sense. What's emergent gameplay? It's always used for bad things. No, it's not. Roleplay events and no, like roleplay events are emergent gameplay, and that's good. All kinds of like really cool things like that happen are emergent gameplay. World First Race is emergent gameplay. All of those things are emergent gameplay. Emergent gameplay is purely just things that happen as a result of the players creating the content rather than the developer. Like that's all it means.
3 to 4 times larger servers than vanilla ever did. We know it, Blizzard knows it. The data available to us also points in this direction, and whilst there aren't necessarily that many times more people wanting to use items created from Lotus, I think there will be far more demand for them than there ever was in vanilla. Seeing just how many more hardcore players we have these days, I believe prices of flasks really evidence this as well. There will be people sitting on hundreds of Lotus for AQ and Naxxramas already, and will probably never sell their full supply off to maintain market scarcity and prices. The average player, on average, has to sink so much more time into getting Lotus, and it's a shame because flasking really does improve performance by a huge amount. It feels good being fun. Fully buffed and fully consumed up going into a raid. But it's just there for opening
week. That's one of the best fucking feelings of Classic WoW, man. Is like on like your buff weeks where you have like you have your Dire Maul buffs. Everybody has their flasks. People have the fucking rallying cry. You've got all your buffs, and you show up to the raid and you're ready to just fuck shit up, dude. And like, that's one of the best things about Classic, man. I really, really like that a lot. It was one of the most fun things. And it's unfortunate that that's not really the case anymore. And it's harder to do that. Because, like, giving people that sense of reward is awesome. And then, and then you wipe on Veil. And then, you know, the one warrior that you told to use Cleave, it just kept using Heroic Strike, and it didn't really matter. You know, that's basically what it was.
Or Darkmoon for the majority of players. And whilst I agree that not everything should be easily available for everybody, it's gotten to a pretty bad point now. In TBC, Fel Lotus were found
which would be the same as it was in Classic.
Herbs, similar to how arcane crystals work from thorium veins for Classic. We know that Double Sword Leather, which is somewhat comparable to Lotus, was nerfed already early on during Classic by making spawns more frequent. In any event, as we are at the moment, what do you think flasks will be worth come AQ40 or Naxxramas?
A lot.
300 gold? 400 gold at that point?
Probably 350.
Just say, you know what, I'll take a few more potential wipes for my raid over requiring that kind of gold investment.
Yeah, it's insane.
The most hardcore players, they will have the gold no matter what. And on larger servers, there may be 4 or 5 guilds regularly requiring a flask per raid. At the end of the day, though mafias are pretty sweaty, it's legit and it's a lot of effort, so I don't mind it at all. The bots though? 2 recommendations. 1, you can't see herbs whilst dead anymore. This stops the level 1 bots from logging in to check spawns.
That's really smart.
Improve the list of restrictions on items transferred between servers to include items that can easily exceed the raw gold transfer value on the majority of servers.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like arcane crystals, Black Lotus, certain amounts
of very good idea.
Herbs like Mountain Silver Sage or Plague Bloom as well. The issue is pretty clear, and with ZG out now and AQ being the next big patch on the horizon, will Lotus continue to go up and up, or will Blizzard take any action at all? Let me know what you guys think. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you in the next one. If you like what you see, give the video a like and subscribe as this.
So I agree with that. I agree with what he's saying 100%. And I do think though that containing the issue of the problem with like people farming Black Lotuses with level 1 characters and like transferring them over, I don't even think that's the main problem. I think the main problem is the fact that there's just not enough of them. Like that's really all there is to it. There's just simply not enough Black Lotus, and because there's not enough, like the video. There, you like that? Yeah, there we go. And because there's not enough Black Lotus, then you know, like then there's going to be a super high price for them. That's the issue. It has nothing really to do, in my opinion, I don't think it has as much to do with the bots farming it on like low pop servers as farming it on high pop servers, and there just being a lot of people. Like if you removed all the bots, this problem would still exist because the problem is fundamental with how many people are on the server and how many Black Lotus are on the server. Like it's just that simple. I do like this guy's videos a lot, especially with like the botting stuff and Classic and all that. I find it very interesting.